I really believe that Abby and Libby would be proud of you for standing strong, even in the face of immense pressure. Some of these individuals have postponed retirement, passed on promotional opportunity, have dedicated personal time away from their families, given up nights, weekends, and holidays, all while in the pursuit of accountability for Abby and Libby. I know that today's announcement will not diminish your resolve, and I hope you have found just a bit of peace in this most complicated world.
Wow, how true. Those were the words of Superintendent Doug Carter with the Indiana State Police months and months ago. Yet it all rings true. The trial that has taken weeks and years in the making culminates with closing arguments today in the Delphi Court of Law. Joining me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But first, to Cheryl McCollum, forensic expert, founder of the Cold Case Research Institute, and star of Zone 7 podcast. Cheryl McCollum, when I heard the words of Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, it really gave me pause. Did you hear what he said? That facing immense pressure and perpetual criticism, that LE had moved forward. And that is what this trial has been. Immense pressure and perpetual criticism.
They have been attacked from all sides. They have stood firm. They have been professional. They have been without hesitation to make sure that justice is served for Abby and Libby.
Well, the judge advised everyone at the beginning of the closing arguments that went down today in a court of law that each side would have 2.5 hours, but only evidence and testimony that was actually admitted at trial could be allowed. The judge trying to keep out theories on Odinism, trying to keep out the SOD defense, some other dude did it, because that did not come into evidence. What is the point of closing arguments? To summarize what the jury has heard. Now, we know some of the last testimony that jury heard was the defense. Listen.
On the 17th day of testimony in the Delphi murders trial, Richard Allen's defense attorney, Brad Rossi, addresses the court, telling the judge the defense rests. Judge Francis Skull was surprised, as was the state. After a recess, the state called 3 rebuttal witnesses. 2 had already testified, but the state called Dr. John Martin, the prison psychologist who met with Richard Allen at Westville Correctional Facility.
Very interesting. The state puts on a rebuttal case. Now, let me go straight out to our legal expert, Philip Dubé, renowned trial lawyer, currently a public defender in the LA County judicial system. Philip, thank you for being with us. This is how it goes down. We know that the state started opening statements. The defense, of course, they can waive their second argument. The defense goes next, and then the state finishes with a third closing argument. In most jurisdictions, that is because if the defense puts up anything other than the defendant's testimony, anything, the state gets a final closing argument. Therein lies the rub for the defense. Of course, the defense put up a lot of evidence, so the state gets a final closing argument to the jury. That is well established across the country. I believe it's because the state carries the burden of proof. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Remember, the prosecution gets an opportunity to rebut what it is that the defense is saying. And if you don't allow them to rebut it, it looks as if they have not carried their burden. So the prosecution is allowed to await to see what the sum total of the defense case is in their closing. And then in their rebuttal, or sometimes we call it their B argument, A, B, they can then attack each point with the evidence that they've put on to rebut that.
Exactly. That is exactly why the state gets a second closing argument. Of course, they have the option to waive that second closing argument at the end and do it all at the beginning, but that's typically a very bad move. So, what did the defense present to the jury? What will be fresh on the jury's mind? First and foremost, the only tangible evidence that links Richard Allen to the murder scene: ballistics.